In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles east of the Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left coast, nay, possibly the entire nation. The Capitol building, the Bill Mill, as it sits in repose, in its evil repose, at 10th and L Streets downtown in Sacramento, Fornicalia, where late at night, when I leave through that door right over there, you can hear the death of common sense every damn night, and it never stops. And also, when I exit that door, I will smell the stench of sulfur and brimstone from said evil. Oh my God. You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. Angel is going to be your bartendress, and it is May the 16th, the year of our Lord 2019. The lava lamp is in fact lighted too. You can see it over there. Well, I'm pointing the wrong direction. There we go, over there. To my left, to your right, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. Listen and chat at shrmedia.com. Pack me in tonight, folks. I want to see if it works, because I believe that the chat roll has been fixed. And I got to tell you this, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the Saloon. The speech is free, but the booze is not, and nothing is sacred. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Also, this just in, yes, you can watch live on Big Sarge Media's Facebook page and the SHR Media Facebook page as well. It's been a strange night. It's been a strange day. For the past 2 days, it's been cold in Sacramento, hence I'm wearing a hoodie. Also, there's this really strange sound that not too many people in California are familiar with. Can anybody tell me? Can anybody identify what that is? Because we've been having a lot of it in the past couple of days. We're not used to it. Hey, welcome to John Martin in chat. Welcome to Dave Milner in chat, and one viewer. Anyway, that's kind of weird. Can't say as I know exactly what it is, but it's really wet, which is pretty bizarre. Okay, tonight, there are a couple of firsts. You know what? Why don't we listen to this for just a little bit more? Because it's kind of nice until the video runs out. The first hour, we're going to have constitutional scholar, professor, the underground professor, Michael Jones, back in to talk about the Electoral College and to talk about the Bill of Rights. And I have here for you and for him, I went to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Okay, so much for that video. It's all gone now. And I found a copy right here of the test that is given to those people who are seeking U.S. citizenship. Now, it's a whole bunch of questions. It goes over U.S. history. As a matter of fact, oh my gosh, it's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 questions, 100 questions. And I looked over these. And before I brought this tonight, I've had this for about a month now. The first time I took this test, I got one wrong. So, and I say that I'm fairly familiar with the Constitution. Well, apparently I'm not as much as I should. But let's see what the constitutional scholar does with this. And as we play along tonight, the other thing I might ask you is, see, as I ask these questions, see if any of these are puzzlers for you, whether you know the answers to these questions. Now, there are a number of answers to these questions available, and there's not just one answer. Sometimes it'll ask you for two answers or something like that. And like I say, I got one wrong. Well, let's see what the professional constitutional scholar has to say about this. And the other point is the second hour. I have an AOC video that I don't think anybody has heard yet, and I hope they do. Well, actually, not hope they do. It's funny as heck. And Professor Jones. One ringing. Well, at least it's not going over to voicemail. He could be in the bathroom, too. That's happened to me. Have you ever been waiting for a really important call? And then all of a sudden, nature calls and the very important phone call that you were waiting for occurs when you're doing something likewise very important. But fear not, folks, because if you doubted that I have... It's the Underground Professor, Michael Jones. How are you, sir?
Hey, you know what? I'm glad I saw the phone. We were watching High Spirits and eating steaks. My friend got off work late, and we just sat down to eat. But go ahead. I'm with you for the hour. I'll watch my food, John.
Oh, damn!
I'll tell you what. Let me move my steak so the dogs don't eat it, and then I'm with you right now.
Okay. All right. We do not want dogs to eat Professor Michael Jones' steak. But no. I have to ask you this. Let me guess. You're still in Texas, and because you're still in Texas, my guess would be you don't like steaks that are well done.
No. Nope. Medium is about the worst that I'll take.
Okay.
Little lighter than medium is good for me.
So like medium rare to rare?
No, I'm not a big rare guy either. I like my meat cooked.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't like. I like it about medium. I like a really good pink, just slightly red in the middle.
Okay, so you're
maybe a red stripe in the middle and then pink. Yeah.
You're not.
I know a lot of Texans though that like it rare as you can get.
Okay, so you're not a steak tartare kind of guy then.
No. Now my ex-girlfriend used to tell them to cut the steak off the side of a live cow and drag it through the fire and put it on her plate.
That's funny because my wife is basically the same thing. What she'll say to the cook, however, is the cut of steak that I want, make sure that you portion it off just for me, walk it through a warm kitchen, and that's enough. Then bring it out.
Right.
I like medium rare, but
now,
not that
we
rare.
We have friends that used to come down from New Jersey, and they liked it so well done that one day my dad, as a joke, put 3 or 4 charcoal briquettes on top of a plate and told Carmen that it was ready.
Okay. All right. I got to tell you this story. Since we're talking about dads and we're talking about steaks, my dad grew up in the Great Depression, and he tried to make me think a long time ago that he was poor. Well, he was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but they moved about, I don't think he was even 1 year old yet. They moved to Texas, so Dad claimed that he was a Texan all along, when I knew for a fact he wasn't really. But having grown up in the Depression and having to prepare meat under those conditions, and worried as they were back then about various little devices that would get inserted into your meat or your pork or your steak, Mom cooked steak to Dad's liking. And I think that was just part and parcel of that's what you did back then. So in the Beasy household when he was growing up, number one, I never got steak, but number two, we would get Swiss steak. And I don't know if folks you remember or know what Swiss steak is, but it's kind of cow meat, but it's about the worst cut you can possibly find. And in order to make it consumable, you have to pound the living crap out of Swiss steak. And so that's what we would get, Swiss steak, which, if it wasn't on your plate, could also double for the sole of a pair of boots. So it was nice that it did nice that it did double duty. But I can clearly remember we moved to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and we were in the officers club. Dad ordered a steak. I ordered, I don't know, whatever the hell he let me order. But the cook in the officers club, Dad was a colonel at the time, the cook came out in his tall white hat and said, "Who ordered the steak well done?" And Dad put up his hand and said, "Yeah, that's me." He says, "Sir, I will not prepare. I will not do that to a steak coming out of my kitchen." And he reversed and he left. And I don't remember what Dad got, but it probably wasn't well done. That was interesting. I just remembered that since you mentioned your dad.
Yeah, that's funny because there's a lot of cooks that won't cook it. They won't give it to you raw, and they won't give it to you well done, especially in Texas.
Well, tonight, as you're eating, I said, and we agreed on that we were going to talk about the Bill of Rights, and we're going to talk about the Electoral College. And then I also said that I have a copy right here from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. It's the civics, quote, parenthesis, history and government questions for the naturalization test. There are 100 questions here. And what I alleged is that, and I took this test myself. I'm holding it in my hot little hands right here. I took this test and I got one wrong. And I feel ashamed at having gotten that one wrong. But my guess would be, and I'm curious what you think and what everybody out there thinks, what percentage of actual Americans born here who consider themselves a citizen, how many people could pass this test? My guess would be maybe, call me bad, call me evil, just don't call me late for dinner. My guess would be 15% of the people in the United States today, if that, could pass this test.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it could be even 25%. It's probably between 10 and 15. And the funny thing is most of those guys run around saying, we need to have a test so that people can take it before they go vote.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, let's start with, we're not going to go through all 100 questions. I mean, that's just really overkill. But yeah. I want to give everyone here a flavor for the kinds of questions. And they break it down into various portions. The first one is American government. And then the next section is system of government. Quite a few questions in that. There's another section, rights and responsibilities. Then they go to American history, colonial period, and independence. I mean, they ask a lot of questions under these various topics. 1800s, that's an actual topic area where they have questions. Another one is recent American history and other important historical information. After looking at this, folks, this is pretty comprehensive. And it asks geography. Here's another one. about geography. Folks, when was the last time you took a geography test? Here's another one, the final category. The final category is holidays. And particularly considering the topics that they have in this test, I really doubt 15% of the people in the United States could answer that question. So what I'd like to do is read a couple of questions.
Test, Bill.
Let's see.
Because I took one like from the 1870s or 80s.
Okay.
And it was,
This
it was
one,
like an 8th grade test.
That might be a hell of a lot harder than this one.
Oh, man.
I see this is revised January of 17. So this might be, if it's not the most current test, it's right up there. So what I'd like to do is read a couple of questions from each category so that, folks, you get the flavor of this. I'm going to ask the question. Professor Jones can throw in a couple of answers because pretty much I know he's going to know all the answers to this.
Pass it right.
But the other thing I'd like you to do is play at home or play in the chat room. Now, folks, if you're listening right now on Big Sarge Media, come on over into the chat room because, please, I'm just about 101% sure that I've finally got the chat roll to roll, so to speak. Sackhead Sean came in here, sat down, and tinked around with a lot of stuff, and we think that we know the idea and the reason that the chat roll wouldn't expand beyond 10. So, folks, if you're watching at Redcon 1 or Conservative Media or any other Facebook pages that I infest with my promos, come on over into the chat room at shrmedia.com. That's the only one that I occupy right now because I can only do a couple of things at once. I have no producer, as you well know. And I'm not a producer myself anyway. I'm lucky I could walk to get here. Go to the chat room, shrmedia.com, pack it up if you will, and then play at home and see if you know the answers to these questions, because these are the questions that are posed to the people that want citizenship here in the United States. And I think, like I said, this is quite comprehensive. Now, this is from the topic area, Principles of American Democracy. And the first question was, what is the supreme law of the land?
Supreme law of the land would be the Constitution. Okay.
And then it has, it says, what does the Constitution do?
What does it do? It limits government's ability to control the sovereigns of this country.
Okay.
Is there choices or?
They have three. So I'll list the three. It says set up the government, defines the government, and protects basic rights of Americans. So the question to you, sir, is
right there.
Do they have it right?
Yeah, it protects the rights of citizens, yes. It doesn't give them those rights, but it protects it. That's the distinction.
Okay. See, again, folks, that's the reason that I wanted to talk to Michael Jones tonight, because I knew the questions obviously have answers, but the answers that he provides, just like that one, are a lot more nuanced and informed. That's why he's here tonight. So thank you for that. Here's another question. The idea of self-government is in the first three words of the Constitution. This is a gimme. What are those words?
We the people.
Yep, exactly. What is an amendment?
That is a Article 5 solution to the Constitution where either Congress initiates or the several states initiate a process whereby we change something in the Constitution. And it's the only legal way to change it. Congress cannot legislate change to the Constitution.
Okay. Can I stop here just for a second? Because that begs an excellent question in my mind. People have said, this was trendy, 10 years ago or so, or more, where people were saying, we need to change, we need to have another amendment to make it illegal to burn the flag. And my first thought was, no, we don't. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. But, and you've spoken to me before about this, but a lot of people here have not heard this. let's say, for example, Professor Michael Jones, let's say somewhere people decide, yeah, you know what? We do want an amendment. We want to add an amendment. Now, how, per the Constitution, Michael Jones, do we go about doing that?
Well, okay, you've got Article 5 is what that is, okay? You've got Article 1, which is Congress, that's legislative and Senate, and Article 2 is the President, Article 3 is judicial. And then Article 4 is stuff about, paying bills and who's a citizen and how we'll admit states and whatnot. Article 5 is where 2/3 of both houses of Congress decide to create a proposal to amend the Constitution, and or the state legislatures can apply 2/3 of the several states, however many there are.
Okay.
And because I think there's like 58 or something like that, according to Obama.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it.
Yeah. So anyway, 2/3 of them can come together and do that. Like say term limits, has been the current thing. So
right.
2/3 of the states come together and say we want to do it, and we could because 2/3 of the states are Republican-controlled legislatures in the states, so we could actually pull that off right now and shove term limits down Congress because Congress can't do anything about it if the states do it. But they only will act as not journalists. What's the word I want? It'll come to me. They're anyway. They'll call it convention.
Oh, Constitutional Convention?
No, that's wrong.
Okay.
We had a constitutional convention, and when we ratified the Constitution,
that was it.
The very nature of its ratification and passage by the several states prevents any more constitutional conventions.
Okay.
Constitutional conventions are unconstitutional.
Okay.
Because basically what you're saying is we're going to rewrite a new constitution. What you're having is a convention for a proposed amendment. And so either the Congress convenes to do that or the several states and representatives to do that, depending on how the proposal is initiated by the states or by Congress. Okay? And then they have to say what they want to change in the Constitution, and then the legislatures have to ratify that by the states. So even if Congress does it, it's still got to go to the states, and 3/4 of all the states have to ratify it. I think that's right. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but the convention, 3/4 of the people at the convention have to ratify it. Also, if it's called by the states, and so it's tantamount to the same thing, I think. And that is Congress. Let me restate this. I might be a little off here. That Congress can ratify. Well, God dang it, Bill. Now I've got myself all confused. Congress can propose an amendment process, okay? And there, somewhere in Article 5, I think there was a clause that we couldn't make an amendment to end slavery, which was put in there as a compromise with the southern states, with future Democrats.
Yes.
And it was the 9th section of the first article that they were referring to, and that they couldn't get rid of it, and they can't get rid of equal suffrage in the Senate. So no state without consent can be deprived of equal suffrage in the Senate. And I don't know of any state that would willingly give that up. So these people that are talking about changing the Constitution or changing the levels of government, and And because I've been hearing a lot of crap about the Electoral College.
Yep.
And all these libtards are running around. Even conservatives are saying, well, maybe we should do this. That would make government better. It's like, well, no. There was a compromise, which I believe Washington actually came up with, which was to make a bicameral Congress and then make the states equal with 2 senators. And that gave birth to the Electoral College, where each state gets at least 3 electoral votes. And that put the states in play that were small and made them more equal to the bigger states. And so they didn't have to worry about their rights being trampled because, the big states could just vote out and say, you know what, Rhode Island's going to pay our taxes or something. That is vote, and
yes.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So this helped protect them from that. All right, I answer your question?
Yes, perfectly. Here's a question that to you and I, and probably a lot of people, is fundamentally obvious, but again, I would say I'd wager 15% of the people don't know the answer to the next 2 questions. They're so simple, I'm going to ask them anyway. And then, folks, you play along at home, and like John said in chat, I need the Jeopardy tune in here, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, what do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution?
The Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights. Now, how many people know that? I would wager not many. The second question, how many amendments?
Let me add to that I don't like that name.
You don't like the name?
Yeah, I don't. Because it implies that those amendments give you rights.
Okay, all right, okay. Hold that. Okay, perfect. This is perfect. Okay, I know what I'm going to do now. This is perfect. The next question, what I'd like to do is ask the next question, and then we're going to have to take a break. Then when we come back, you've posed an interesting point, and I would like to hear you talk about the Bill of Rights and perhaps why you think it's not a good idea, because when you start to do that, you're going to provide more insight into the true structure of the U.S. Constitution itself. Michael Jones, that was a brilliant point, and I thank you very much. Okay, the Bill of Rights, as it's named right now, the first 10 amendments constitute the Bill of Rights. The second question that people ask is, that's on the test is, okay, how many amendments are there in the Constitution? And you and I both know.
Right. You want the answer, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, there are 27.
There are.
And the 27th is relatively new.
Okay.
It was 92, I think, when the 27th Amendment was passed.
Okay. When we come back, I'm going to ask Professor Jones, tell us more about the Bill of Rights and why he's not real keen, and I know why, but I want him to tell everyone listening why he's not too keen on the appellation Bill of Rights. And then we're going to continue with some more questions. We're going to eventually get into some constitutional issues of the day. And with that, we're going to be right back. We'll get to the Electoral College, and we'll get to some of the issues, because the states themselves are becoming sillier and sillier by the day. Folks, you're listening to me. I'm the Bloviating Zeppelin, where I am broadcasting live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. This is the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Please come right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Right here from the SHR Media Network. Thanks to everybody in chat. We got Mary Brockman. Good to see you here. Got John Martin. Good to see you. Got Dave Milner. Good to see you. We have 3 viewers who are masked, but as I said in chat, unlike the prior administration, we don't go in there and decide that we're going to arbitrarily unmask you. Folks, we have the absolute pleasure of speaking to what I would consider one of the finest constitutional scholars around, which is why I love to have him on the show, Professor Michael Jones. And that was his gig, to teach constitutional law to tons and tons and tons of people. Had his own radio show doing that called The Underground Professor. So I know that he knows from whence he speaks. And we had been speaking and talking about this test that's given to citizens just before they get nationalized, or naturalized, I should say. And it's a test about history and government, and it has 100 questions for the naturalization test. We got to the point where the question was the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, I just blew that, to the U.S. Constitution are called what? And they're called the Bill of Rights. And Professor Michael Jones said, wait, that's maybe not the best name. So why isn't that the best name, Professor Jones?
Well, and the simplest way to say it is that the Constitution doesn't give us a single right. It acknowledges our rights, and it does its level best to protect us and our rights. That it tries to limit the ability of government and the sovereigns, by the way, which is us, from getting rid of our own rights. But rights don't come from government, they don't come from man, and they don't come from pieces of paper. They come from God.
Correct.
So I don't like the term Bill of Rights because too many people think that means that our rights are in that. And even the framers in the constitutional debate, there were a lot of them that got up and said, we don't like this because people may think this is the only rights we have, because they'll come by and they'll say, well, it ain't listed, in this, so you don't have it. Or they'll think that rights come from the Constitution. And they were right about that, because that's exactly what we have today. We have people that say you don't have a right because it's not listed. Or they say that the rights come from government and the Constitution. And they think that they can limit your rights via the Constitution also, which is just as bad, because not only do they claim that government gives us these rights and the Constitution gives it, but if they can change the Constitution, they think they have the ability to take away your rights. And like getting rid of the Second Amendment, for instance, the left thinks that would get rid of your right to bear arms, but since that right doesn't actually come from the Constitution, it simply says government can't take that right from you because God gave it to you. And it doesn't say it in those words, but that's what the framers said. If you read the articles in the papers of the 1780s, and you look at what the notes on the constitutional debates and the ratification debates of the several states. Here's one that will make you laugh, Bill.
Okay.
The state of New York threatened to pull out of America, of the United States of America, and go its own way as a country if the Second Amendment was not put into the Constitution.
Wow. Okay. Didn't see that coming. Not the mindset of New York today, but that's an important little trivia piece.
Yep. That's amazing how the mighty fall. Now you can't own a gun in that state.
No, that's true. Let's see. Under this system here, it says, here's another topic area. System of government.
Okay.
Now, we know that there are three, and I pose this to everybody here, how many people can list all three branches of government? Now, they ask, name one branch or part of government. And you and I both know.
See, there's the welfare department, the WIC department,
right,
and the unemployment department.
Okay.
I think those are the three branches of government.
Okay, that's right. There you go. Now, if you were AOC, that would have been correct. But since I know...
Yeah, they want the legislature, the judicial, and the executive branches is what they're looking for there.
Yep. What stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful?
Well, allegedly, the other branches.
And they're looking for the phrases either checks or balances or separation of powers.
Separation of powers, yeah.
And then they ask, who makes federal laws?
Federal laws?
Federal laws.
And let me see now, because that's tricky. It was a 2017 test, so they probably are using the term federal incorrectly and meaning central or general government. But that would be the legislature. They're the only branch allowed to make laws. Now, the Supreme Court thinks it can, and often the presidents think they can. But it's the congressional legislature that actually has the power to make law.
Under here, they've indicated who makes federal laws. Their answers are Congress, Senate, and the House of Representatives, and or the legislature, U.S. or national.
Gosh, isn't that all the same thing?
Pretty much. They're using basically different language for, as you indicate, the same thing. Now, here's a question that is so fundamentally obvious, and I think I'll stop with this, with the questions, because we got a lot more stuff to go into. This is so obvious that I'll still wager that at least 15% or less of the people know this answer. What are the two parts of the U.S. Congress?
Okay, that'd be the upper house and the lower house, or the Senate and legislature. As we know.
Yep. Senate and the House of Representatives.
Yeah. Before you quit asking questions, ask me the one you missed.
Oh, damn. That's way over here. I don't even know if I remember that. I'm going to have to... You know what? Damn, and I'm not going to have a break until the top of the hour.
Don't worry about it.
It's buried in here somewhere. And, you know, that's a good point. I wish that I had circled that or something. That would have been a good question to find out. But anyway, if I could publish this thing, you know, if I could find a link, maybe I'll do that on my Twitter. You can follow me, folks, on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. The questions of the day, however, are seem to be boiling down to this. Now, this is, we agree that we're going to chat about the Electoral College, and here's an article from Fox News.
Pelosi and other Democrats in her
about
caucus have advocated for lowering the voting age to 16.
Okay.
The top Democrat in the House explains why.
Stop. Okay, I didn't want this audio to play.
I'd like to know, first of all, do you...
God dang, videos, stop.
Lower the age of 16
There's
to vote?
There's
God.
like 5 videos in a row here. Just stop it. Good God. Okay, here's the name of the article, and it was published not quite a month ago. Well, yeah, over a month ago, I should say. Senate Democrats introduce a measure to abolish the Electoral College. Now, these weren't House Democrats. These are Senate Democrats introducing a measure to abolish the Electoral College. They introduced a measure to do away with the Electoral College, picking up on the talking point that caught fire in the 2020 Democratic presidential field. The measure serves as a companion legislation to one put forward in the House by Representative Steve Cohen, Democrat, Tennessee, and counts one presidential candidate, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, among its co-sponsors. And, of course, Dick Durbin of Illinois, Dianne Feinstein of California, and Brian Schatz of Hawaii also supported the resolution. Now, the question to you, okay, we can say that we wish to abolish the Electoral College, and we were talking about my improper and imprecise use of a constitutional convention, because there was only one of them at the very beginning, and there aren't any more. But if they decided to pass a bill to abolish the Electoral College, what would be the steps? And can you rip something as fundamental as the Electoral College? Can you rip it and just trample on it wholesale? What are the lawful and constitutional ramifications of that, Professor Michael Jones?
Well, I don't see how it's constitutional to legislate that. To be honest, you've got to amend the Constitution to do that.
Okay.
And right there in Article 2, Section 1, it says that the electors shall meet. Let me back up a little. Each state shall appoint a manner of a legislature, therefore to direct a number of electors equal to the number of senators and representatives. That's how you get your count of electors per state.
Right.
Which is why there's a minimum of 3. And whatever they're entitled to in Congress. Then, and by the way, a senator and a representative or a person holding office cannot be an elector. Only people that are not elected to office can be electors. And that's important.
That's critical.
It's a separation of power.
Yes.
And so anyway, they meet in their state. They don't go to a college somewhere, and they don't go to Washington. They meet in their own states, in their own capitals. And they vote by ballot for two people. Now, originally it was set up where you voted for two people, and the person with the most votes got to be president. The person with the second votes got to be vice president. But when you had that little problem with having Jefferson, they decided to amend the Constitution and change that because they thought, well, that's not good. Maybe we should have it where the president and the vice president are actually in the same group, of people. So what was that, Amendment 12, I guess, or something like that? They changed that in Amendment 12, and then that way, the votes for people would go that way, one and then two. And it's that way, by the way, unless the House of Representatives has to pick the president. Did you know that?
No. No.
Yeah, because then it's they vote for president, and then they do a separate vote for vice president. And they can vote differently. If the election is a tie, and it has to go to the House of Representatives to pick it, then they have to do it the old-fashioned way. And they
hello, America.
Let me rephrase that. I'm a little off. Let me say why that's so. Because the House of Representatives picks the president, and the Senate picks the vice president.
Okay.
See?
Yes.
So if the election's a tie and it goes to Congress to be decided, the House of Representatives has to pick the president, and by picking the president, that means they pick the president. And I think it's 2/3 or something like that of the people have to vote for it, and in there, and then the Senate has to pick the vice president. Same thing. And so, if that's the case, then they're just because the House chose the president doesn't mean his vice presidential choice automatically goes with him. So it can be changed like that. That's the only exception that I'm aware of, unless they change something, that I don't know about in there somewhere. But yeah, that's it. So anyway, the Electoral College is in the Constitution in Article 2 because it doesn't pertain to congressional votes because we directly elect our legislature, our legislature, our representatives. We weren't supposed to be electing the senators. Those were supposed to be picked by our state legislature to protect and represent the state. But, they changed that. That was a very idiotic thing. And that, by the way, they're using the same arguments to make us directly elect senators in our, when they amended the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
The same arguments are being used today. One person, one vote, more representation, that we, the people, will have more to say about, the election process by the fact that we're directly electing them. What was that, the 17th Amendment? Is
I
that
believe,
right? 17th Amendment that changed that?
I believe so.
Yeah. And so, these idiots, it is, because the 16th Amendment's the one I think if we have a constitutional, I almost said it. If we have an amendment convention, that was close. If we have an amendment convention, I think the 16th Amendment's the one we should be changing, not before we do anything else, and the 17th. But the 16th is the one that says Congress can tax our income, and the 17th is that we directly elect senators instead of state legislature picking them. But then the president was elected via the Electoral College, and I think that was brilliant to separate the powers, and it also separates the power from the sovereigns too. A lot of people don't understand that the Constitution doesn't just limit and separate and share powers. It does all those things, but it doesn't just do it with government. it also does it with us. You know, the Constitution, in a way, takes us out. The last time we all voted on one thing together en masse was the Constitution. And then the rest of it has been, split out and separated. And the Electoral College is one way to separate we the people from directly electing a president, and that is a separation of powers, ours and the government.
I always said,
That's
because
one of the reasons it's so important. Yeah.
I always said, because you mentioned taxes, and it made my little tickler file alarm go off. If you want to discover what you're really paying in taxes, and if you want an actual tax revolt in the nation, which I think would be a good thing, then you should tax.
Make them pay their own withholding?
No, you should make sure that citizens pay taxes just like businesses pay taxes. That is to say, everyone pays their quarterlies. And once your quarterlies come due, you'll have a tax revolt of the first order on your hands. Guaranteed.
Yeah. I wrote a letter to Congress once when I was a high school kid. And what I wrote, back in the 70s, late 70s, but I proposed an amendment to the Constitution. And the amendment was that all Americans should receive a paycheck that, where it says FICA, instead of it being withheld for us, that would be the number that we had to sit down and write a check for. And it would tell us exactly what we had to pay every week when we got paid, and send that check every week to the government. I figured that would cause a revolt. And, of course, it went nowhere. But but think about it. If people, they get used to it because it's not in their check, so they get used to what they actually get, and then they live with that, and they don't think they care. But if they had to sit down and write a check every time they got a paycheck and write that check out, there would be a revolt, just like what you were saying.
Two more questions before the top of the hour. The first one has to do with the Constitution. Okay. The second, not so much, but it is a tax question. So the last constitutional question for tonight is this. This article just came out, as a matter of fact, today. It's from CNN Politics. It says, Maine Senate passes bill giving states electoral votes to the national popular vote winner. My first question the first question I thought was, okay, is this constitutional? I don't think so, because it's voiding, essentially, it's a workaround or a get around for the entire Electoral College and Constitution as well. It's again the Democrats attempting to go around our founding documents. Maine's lawmakers passed a bill that would give the state's electoral votes to the presidential candidate who won the national popular vote, taking a step towards becoming the 15th state to enact such a law. So already we know there are 14 states, including, I believe, California, who've latched onto this new way to circumvent, and that's the only thing that I can think of to call this. It's a circumvention of the Electoral College, for God's sake. So your thoughts, constitutionality or otherwise, Professor Michael Jones?
Well, the easy way to say is that, as I just said, it violates the Constitution. They have to amend it. They can't legislate it. Congress can't and the states can't. But here's the deal, and a lot of people may not know this, as you have no right to vote for president in this country because of the Electoral College. In fact, it was originally set up for the state legislature to pick the Electoral College of its own state and send those delegates to their state capital for the states to realize that if they didn't let the people vote, then they would have mayhem. And so they quickly subrogated those legislative rights to we the people of each state. And then we go and vote for president, but what we're really voting for is the delegates that are going to be electors in that state. Now, according to the setup, whoever wins that state's popular vote gets the electors. Okay, the state's popular vote, not the nation's popular vote. And so in order for Maine and these other 13 states to do this, they're violating the Constitution. There's a little bit of latitude in the states picking the delegates and whether or not they're required to vote for the president. That, like say Texas sends its electoral college delegates down to Austin, and Trump was the winner of the state. Well, the state of Texas has the power to inform the electoral college that they have to vote the first time for Trump. But if there is a revote, like it comes in the tie or no one gets enough votes, then they have to redo it again and again and again until they're done. Then they get to vote their own conscience. You may not know that. And so that's some states have more severe rules, like you always have to do it or you don't have to do it at all. They could actually change their votes or change their minds, and that happened in history once. The poor guy that was lobbied was just incredible. But anyway, no, that would be unconstitutional what they're doing. And get this, if they did it, how long would it take to certify all the votes in all the states, determine who was the popular winner, and then have the Electoral College go and do all this? You think it was bad under Bush and Gore? The delay in election certification would be unbelievable. And this is why the Democrats are doing that, by the way, because of Bush and Gore and Clinton and Trump.
Yes.
They're all running around saying, that it's not fair that the popular vote went one way. I'm not even sure that Hillary actually won the popular vote. If you get rid of all the illegal, fraudulent voting, and all the help that the Clinton administration got from the Russians. Of course, we're blaming Trump for the Russians, but they helped Hillary more than they helped Trump.
I completely agree with you, because we know for a fact that there were. Oh no, that's the agreement bell on the BZ show. When somebody makes a point that is spot on, they generally get that like ding, yeah, baby, that's correct. Both are unconstitutional. I'm looking at an article here from the Foundation for Economic Education, and it says the accidental genius of the Electoral College, and you made reference to this. It was built to favor the ruling class, but it ends up restraining all power. Would you think that's a pretty good summary of that?
No, I don't think it was built to protect the ruling class. Think about this: who made the Electoral College? The framers, and the framers designed Congress to have our royalty be in the Senate, and the masses, the plumbers and barrel makers and shoemakers be the people in the legislature, the common folk. So I don't know, all we were talking, and I don't know who else that would be but the ruling class, right? I mean, who do we pick as president from our country? I mean, I really don't want anybody to be president of the United States that I think I'm better than. And, so where do you go? You go to your elite, your ruling class to get that. But if they mean, then I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay.
Because the Electoral College isn't about ruling class. I mean, look what they did. In fact, let me say this. If we got rid of Electoral College, then the Democrats would be choosing all of our presidents, and only New York, Florida, and California would be in play.
Yep.
Texas is big, but
sadly,
so all the states, those three states.
Sadly, your phone is starting to die.
Is it?
Yeah. So
can you hear me better now?
It's
okay.
yeah. It was.
Yeah. So it doesn't protect the ruling class. It protects all the small states as well as the big states. And so therefore, I'd say it spreads it out. It doesn't narrow it down.
Okie doke. Folks, that was Professor Michael Jones. And thank you, sir, for being here. We'll call you again to come back because, as we both well know, there will be more abrogations and more injuries and abuse of the U.S. Constitution of the Bill of Rights. Thank you so kindly for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Sir,
Bill,
Michael
can
Jones.
I say something real quick?
Sure.
One thing real quick. That we brought up the 27th Amendment earlier. It was kind of cool. There were like 50 amendments proposed for the Bill of Rights. And it was all narrowed down to about 10. There were actually 12 that went up for vote. 10 were ratified. It actually was proposed under the Bill of Rights.
All righty. Thank you, sir. We're going to have to go to a break.
Love you, bye.
Take care, sir, and thanks for being on again. We will have you on again. Folks, that was Professor Michael Jones. Thanks for his time. This is the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. I am the Bloviating Zeppelin, and we'll be right back after this. I have new audio and an assload of happy stories, and things are starting to break in D.C., and I've got some great breaking stories. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Dang, my microphone is hot. Okay, let's turn that down a little bit. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I tell you that I am fundamentally deaf. And I've had people tell me before who happen to be, kind of sort of involved with the SHR Media Network. I've heard them say something similar to, "Hey, BZ, why is it that I can hear your headphones like 2 houses away when you're broadcasting?" And the point is, number one, I've been damn near deaf in my left ear, and it's going in my right ear. I've got tinnitus 24/7. It's worse than other times. I have not yet made the correlation as to why my tinnitus gets bad one day or bad 1 hour or a little bit better another day or a little bit different another hour. I've not yet been able to make that correlation. But when I take the headphones off at the end of a segment and I put them down, some other personnel around here have said, just when your headphones are closed, I can hear your show over in the other damn room. And it's because I'm really hard of hearing. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm going to say that I'm getting, the things to make your hearing better. I'm not doing that yet. But I realize how I got here. I got here because I was in radio in the late 60s and early 70s, and I was a jock playing rock music, AOR, album-oriented rock. And we had 2 JBL L100s in almost every studio that I was in at the time. And I was in top 40, and I was also in FM. So I played both sides of the field, because you wanted to be on as many radio stations as you could in terrestrial radio in the late 60s and early 70s. But I really dug rock radio. And, of course, I also went to all the concerts. If they were big in rock and they were British, I saw them. A lot of American rock. And, of course, you'd stand right in front of the stacks because you got tickets, because you were from a radio station. You got tickets that were a little bit better than some of the other places. And then I became the range master for my 2,000-plus sheriff's department. That didn't help my hearing. Oh, John in chat. Now, this is very interesting. He says, tinnitus changes depending on your heart rate and anxiety. I never thought of that. Here's the other thing that I know I didn't ever want to think of. Have you been to, you'll go to various websites, and I'm proud of the fact that I don't have any ads. And I'm proud at if you go to my site, bloviatingzeppelin.net, I've been writing there since 2004. And I've been solicited for ads, but I will not put ads on my site. Allegedly professional ads, how many times, folks, I have to ask you, going to any number of news blogs or sites, how damn tired are you of looking at the same ad that asks you, you want to get rid of your toe fungus? Or the other ad that says, stick a piece of broccoli or an asparagus in your ear, and that gets rid of tinnitus. Yeah, bull alert. I'm sorry, not buying that. Now, in the second hour, once I get going a little bit, and I think Dave is still here. Yeah, Dave is still there. If you want to call in, that's fine. I got an assload of happy stories to tell. And I played this once before, but I found another, and Mary Brockman in chat was making reference to this. There's a person on the internet called the 8-year-old AOC, and she has a new video out. And so this is AOC talking about her Green New Deal. This is brand new, hot off of AOC audio. Take it away.
Like, hello, America. AOC here again, but this time from Washington, D.C., which is named after our country's first president, George Washington, D.C. Did you know that? Like, I want to tell you about my plan to single-handedly save the planet. I call it the Green New Deal. I picked green because I'm still learning my colors. I came up with my plan after watching, like, the most important documentary on climate change. Yeah. It's called Ice Age 2, The Meltdown. That's not me saying it. That's science. My Green New Deal will cost like $93 trillion. Do you know how much that is?
How much?
Me neither. Because it's totally worth it. If sea levels keep rising, we won't be able to drive to Hawaii anymore. And I just got this electric car. It's eco-friendly, and everyone has to drive one under my deal. And that's why I bought one for my boyfriend too, legally, using campaign donations. Well, you bought it for him. Did you know that? Did I tell you not to speak? If you say one word, you're driving the pink one.
Oh, poor guy.
I do the same thing to Pelosi and Schumer. Well, gotta go. Street lights just came on. Good night, Venezuela.
Okay. I know. It's a cheap laugh, but I enjoy it. Give me a break. Funny thing is, now, that's humor, and it's humor us. Here's a real cut from the actual AOC, and she's trying to educate us about a couple of concepts, and you tell me if she's doing a good job here.
When I think about what those definitions are, capitalism isn't, to me, it's an ideology of capital. The most important thing is the concentration of capital, and it means that we seek and prioritize profit and the accumulation of money above all else, and we seek it at any human and environmental cost.
What? Okay, you got to remember, she believes this. Let's continue.
That is what that means.
No, wrong, so wrong. It's exactly backwards. And I'll prove it to you. Been on Amazon lately? Each of the thousands of products Amazon offers represents the work of people who believe they have something you want or need. If they're right, they prosper. If they're wrong, they don't. That's how the free market works.
Stop. Has anybody, including AOC, ever watched Shark Tank, for example? That's a bit simplistic, but that's how things work. Either you have a good, cogent idea and people will buy your product, or your idea sucks and you'll go down the toilet.
It encourages people to improve their lives by satisfying the needs of others.
So
no one starts a business making a thing or providing a service for themselves. They start a business to make things or provide services for others.
when we talk about ideas, for example, like democratic socialism, it means putting democracy and society first instead of capital first.
In a socialist economy, the government has the ultimate power. It decides what you get from a limited supply it decides should exist. Instead of millions of people making millions of decisions about what they want, a few people, government elites, decide what people should have and how much they should pay for it.
Yes.
Not surprisingly, they always get it wrong. Have you ever noticed that late-stage socialist failures always run out of essential items like toilet paper?
Because at the end of the day, as workers and as people of society, we're the ones creating wealth. Not a corporate CEO, not a CEO that's actually creating $4 billion a year. It is the millions of workers in this country that's creating billions of dollars of economic productivity.
Oh, girl, you got your life so turned around. The unfortunate thing is that Generation X, millennials, and Gen Zers are buying your utter bullshit.
I speak from personal experience. When I was the CEO of the company that owns Carl's Jr. and Hardee's restaurant chains, we spent millions of dollars every year trying to determine what customers wanted.
That's how it works. AOC, that's how it's supposed to work. The funny thing is, it's the person that you love to hate who seems to be, oddly enough, the most respectful person of those who honor this country, honor discipline, and honor sacrifice. So the day before yesterday, or yesterday it may be, President Trump honored the brother and the wife and the 10-month-old son of Corporal Ronald Singh, who was murdered in California by an illegal alien on Christmas morning. To this day, to this second, there has not been one acknowledgement from Governor Gavin Newsom. Nothing. And there will never be. He does not honor the military. He does not honor discipline or sacrifice or true service. We have a president who does.
You're the only one that actually reached out and said, gave your condolence to the family. And it actually means a lot to all of our law enforcement families that are here.
This man over here, the Singh family, supports him. Whatever he's doing for the law enforcement, we support him. His team at the White House has reached out to us multiple times. I don't think that has ever happened before, ever. This man is amazing, and my family supports him.
Ronell was special, and today we're really grateful to be joined by Corporal Singh's wife, Anamika, and their precious 10-month-old son, Arnav. Where are you? You're right here someplace. Stand up, please. And also here are his great parents, Ronnie and Via, and his brother. Where is Reggie, his brother? Reggie. What a great family. Reggie, come up here, will you please? Come on up. Come on. This is unexpected, but this family, I tell you, you know, you get to know some people. Come on up. They may let you up. I think so.
This is a president who actually honors law enforcement and the military. And while we're talking about a president that honors the military and honors law enforcement, I had an SHR special report about a week and a half ago called Footsteps. And today on various forms of social media, a number of people were saying, didn't Trump indicate he was going to release a ton of these documents? And back and forth, I pitched some ideas to some folks on social media and said, you know, it's beginning to appear as though one of the major reasons for him perhaps not releasing that information is that, in my opinion, because of the dossier, it's going to make Britain, it's going to make the UK look extremely, extremely bad. There now are people indicating that there are high-placed White House sources that the president really is beginning to examine, releasing a lot of important documents, and that it may be very soon. Let's listen.
We hear tonight, I heard today from a high-placed White House source that the president may be looking to release and declassify all the relevant documents leading up to the start of the Russia probe next week.
But I heard he's going to give them to Attorney General Barr to review. Well, I've been hearing that for a long time.
Well, apparently it's next week.
Well,
that's what my source tells me.
That'll be interesting.
So, have you noticed, and next week, next Tuesday, I'm bigfooting myself, I'm going to have another SHR special report. It's going to be called Footsteps Part 2, because there's a trend. And the trend going on is there may be another Night of the Long Knives coming out. Looks like we have somebody on the line. Do we have somebody on the line?
Yes, we have somebody on the line.
Dave Milner, go ahead, sir. What up?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the UK looking bad, and they just continue to look bad, man. This is the country, I think that we have to remember, where we got some of our founding documents and founding philosophies from.
Yes.
And at this point, they're looking like more like a banana republic or Stalinist Russia than anything else. I mean, you, of course, have been talking a lot about this whole dossier, the soft coup that's going on, and all of that. Okay, and one of its main sources is from Britain. It's from the treasonous May government, basically, people involved with that government. All right, so this goes into that, and there's now a political slimebaggery reciprocity that's going across the pond. You pointed out some things involving it from the UK, and there's also the same slimebaggery, as I say, reciprocity coming from the United States into UK politics. And I just want to inform you and the listeners about this, because of course I have no more easy Facebook activity due to the UK's version of the Southern Poverty Law Center, what they call Hope Not Hate, putting me in with a lot of other people, including the rest of the English Defense League, so that I was part of the purge. So I don't have a Facebook page anymore. I am available everywhere else, though. Twitter, Spreely, MeWe, Gab, all those places. Look for Dave Miller or Agador. But here's the thing. BZ. Tommy Robinson, you've been following this man for a while. In fact, you have his book, do you not?
I do. And if I could hold you there just for a moment, and I know you can hear this on your side. It's funny you should mention Tommy Robinson, because my next audio cut, after it was going to be before your call, before I knew that you were interested in calling, was this. Well, let's just let Tommy Robinson speak to it for himself in about 60 seconds or so.
I think that very soon, a time soon, then the relocation of my family will be needed, probably to another country. I think that time's coming, because essentially they're what I've had to have. They're the thoughts I've had to have. They're the discussions I've had to have. Is it safe? No, it's not. Is it safe even from the government? No, it's not. It's not like we're just worrying about terrorists coming and kill us. In fact, my biggest fear is what the establishment are going to do. It's not what some jihadi's going to do.
Stop for just a second. Isn't that a hell of a comment when you have a citizen of a country who fears his country more than jihadis, fears his government more than jihadis or anyone else.
It's what they're going to do next. It's what they're working on now. As I sit here now, what are they planning in order to silence me? That's the biggest fear, and the reality is, I have 3 young children and a wife. It's not just me who's at risk.
So you have an individual, a citizen,
yep,
who believes that he is no longer safe in his own country and now fears for his wife and his children because he speaks his mind. Now, is he a potty mouth like BZ? No. He's revealing what he thinks. Customarily, this is covered by the First Amendment. The UK has no such thing.
No, not at all. And BZ, I want to just say Americans really should give a damn about this.
Yes.
Because right now it's a guy in England. I actually had a friend a few years ago scream at me, not yell at me, but scream at me. Who cares? It's England. You know, you should care because it's him now, but it can be you tomorrow very easily. We saw what happened to Dinesh D'Souza, and other people here in the United States. Tommy Robinson is now running BZ. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time.
No,
now
go,
running
hey, Dave,
for,
go to the bottom of the hour. You got another 2 minutes. Take it.
Okay. He's now running for MEP, which is a minister of the European Parliament. He's very popular, and he's running in the northwest of England. He has had hardly any protection from local police. They let people get through so they can get in fights and throw milkshakes on him and just give him practically no security. He has, they have trumped up charges against him for upsetting some members of an Islamic rape gang who were found guilty of child sex grooming in the UK, and he filmed them, and now they're going to try him again on July the 4th and July the 5th. Now, this is relevant because if he wins his seat on the European Parliament, he's supposed to go in to Brussels to take his seat on July the 4th. So there's some political slime-baggery for you. The latest political slime-baggery, and this should take you to the bottom of the hour, my friend, is that the California Connection, Stripe, which is an organization out in California, which runs various funding websites, has taken off Tommy Robinson's fundraising page for his MEP campaign with no reason. They've just disconnected his account. No more fundraising for you, Mr. Tommy Robinson. And that's straight out of Silicon Valley in Fornicalia. So there you go, BZ. It's reciprocity, political slime-baggery at its absolute worst. And the UK could not be looking any worse at this point. Neither could California, for that matter. And thank you for having me on, sir. I appreciate it. Keep on doing what you do. Rock on.
Thank you ever so kindly, Dave Milner. Folks, we're going to be right back. When I come back, we're going to change gears entirely because I told you I've got a ton of happy stories. And then after that, I have some rather serious, significant, fairly shocking stories. I hope I get to them all. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin. That's me on BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here from the SHR Media Studios. Don't go anywhere.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's the final 25. The final 25 minutes. First hour, boom, like that. Second half hour, boom, like that. Done and gone. And the show goes rockingly swift anyway. I do have an announcement to make regarding some Wednesday shows, and it specifically has to do with Jeff Dunitz. Jeff Dunitz has not been on the air because he's had a prior problem with a lot of computer issues. Let me go back a little bit. Jeff is an Apple kind of guy. And what Jeff discovered, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on whether you're a PC person or an Apple person, is that apparently... And I'm a PC person. I got to admit I was raised in that world, so that's what I'm used to. When you try to put together a radio show or a podcast and have a mixer and microphones, etc., what you discover is it's a lot easier to assemble all of these things and make them talk to each other if you've got a PC-based environment as opposed to an Apple-based environment. Now, Jeff Dunitz is much more comfortable in an Apple-based environment because he comes from a creative background, advertising, etc., and everybody was using Apple, and so that's what his comfort level is at. He's finally gotten himself where he's got a laptop. I sent him a mixing board probably 3-4 months ago, something like that. Might have been right around Christmas, because I knew that and it wasn't all that terribly complicated, but mixing sound is really an important aspect of a podcast or a radio show. The bottom line is this. Jeff got a PC laptop, so he's working things together. His shows were, 11 a.m. on the left coast, and they were 1 p.m. on the east coast, and they were every Wednesday. Jeff is doing his level best using the new PC laptop to try to assemble his show. I'm hoping with crossed eyes and crossed tarsals and metatarsals that his show is going to be back on next Wednesday. Just want to let that be known. And there's another great audio cut coming up, but it all comes behind this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Okay, so something absolutely tragically monumental occurred today, and it involves Bill de Blasio, the mayor of the biggest city in the United States, New York City. So this New York City mayor, Bill de Blasio, wants to run for president. And now I believe with him that makes 22 or 23 Democrat contenders for president, just on the Democrat side. I guess what they're trying to do is emulate what the ridiculous Republicans were doing back in 2016. They're trying to figure out, they had, 16, 17 candidates at the time, which of course they winnowed down to OMB, Orange Man Bad. But The View today, very interesting. The View's take, especially Whoopi Goldberg, which is why I'm playing this, their take on Bill de Blasio and how important it is that he's running.
We did touch on this a little bit ago, and this morning it became official. New York City Mayor.
I know!
Bill de Blasio is running for president. His campaign video says God. Let me read it. It says he's going to put working people first. That New York has embraced the Green Deal. And that he'll take it national, and that as a New Yorker, he's always known what a bully and fraud the guy in the White House is.
Right.
Is this a good career move for him right now? No. What are you doing? Not a good career move, man. Here's the thing that you didn't mention. Homelessness is near record highs. Congestion pricing.
Listen to this. This is a leftist. Wait a minute. Skewering a leftist?
Take the minimum wage money that we just gave to people. It'll take it away from them because they have to pay the congestion pricing. Public housing is falling apart. You can't seem to fire anybody. The subways are underserved. The buses are slow. What the hell are you going to do?
Okay, so what kind of a candidacy do you have when it's discovered that, well, the people in, let's see, I think I heard this on the way in, 76% of the people in New York City don't want him as a presidential candidate. On the other hand, here's a story from SarahCarter.com that says this. Current 2020, let me ask you this, who said the current 2020 Democratic presidential candidates can't win against Trump? Who said that? Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was interviewed by Scott Wapner. Wapner in the morning. Yeah, got to watch Wapner. On CNBC on Tuesday, when asked about the 2020 race and whether he himself would consider running, He left open the possibility, saying, well, we'll see what happens. It would take the perfect storm. Excuse me, I got a cough here. It would take the perfect storm for me to do so, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks said. There's some things that could open the door, but I'm not projecting or predicting it right now. The funny thing is he was asked, who on the Democrat side, by the way, sir, Mr. Cuban, who has the best chance of winning? Mark Cuban said, nobody right now. He said, if you look at why people voted for Donald Trump, in my opinion, first and foremost, it was because he wasn't a politician. Politicians are the least trusted of every profession. Wait a minute. If I had a producer, you would have heard this. Politicians are the least trusted of any profession. But I don't have a producer, and that's not what you heard. Also, very interesting. This escaped almost everybody because I'm not a sieve. You pay me the big bucks to bring this stuff to you. Here's a gray-haired Obama, so this is not long ago. Obama was in Kogelo, Kogelo, and this happened to be just 2 weeks ago. Listen very carefully. Now, what he says is why you didn't hear it played anywhere by anyone. And no, this isn't audio Photoshop or any of that kind of crap. This is Obama. Okay. Brock, take it, okay?
3 years ago, I visited Kenya as the first sitting American president to come from Kenya.
The first sitting president to come from Kenya, spoken by Barack Hussein Obama. Funny, now, isn't he the guy that said also that he never had a kerfuffle in his administration? He never had any scandals? Here's an article, and if I could put the link up, I would, but it's over on my laptop, and I can't put the link up over here. But you could go to trueactivist.com, trueactivist.com, and enter this in your favorite search engine, criminal in chief. And on that article, in that article, you're going to find the 78, yes, 78, the 78 times President Obama broke the law during his presidency. Here's another happy story. Purposely, the American media maggots, leftists, and Democrats did not provide you with this information, which is why I'm doing it for you under the guise of happy stories, because this is a happy story. This is from the Washington Times. Thank God that at least they covered it. This is great. Listen. Trump judicial nominee confirmed to Ninth Circuit Court over Democratic objections. This is an extremely happy story. The Senate confirmed Kenneth K. Lee to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on Wednesday, giving President Trump reinforcements against the most consistently liberal circuit in the country. The California lawyer cleared the Senate by a vote of 52 to 45. One of the reasons that leftists, Democrats, and the other American media maggots don't want to touch this is because he himself is a bit of a touchy individual. He's not a white male. He's an Asian male. So they kind of have to be very wary about how they approach this. So, of course, they've decided, screw it. We're not even going to approach this at all. This is what it means. It means his approval means 10 GOP appointed active judges are on the circuit, compared with 16 Democrat appointees. That is up, folks, here in California, with a K. Please spell it properly. That's up from a 7 20-18 split at the beginning of Trump's term. And guess what? Guess what? I feel like the camel that walked in. Hey, Dave, guess what? Mike. Guess what? There are still 3 vacancies yet to be filled. Folks, I don't care who you are. That's a happy story. This is another happy story in terms of schadenfreude. When I saw this, when I stopped, busted a gut laughing, remember the New Mexico governor who left the border open because she said that Trump was doing nothing but fear-mongering. He's a fear-monger. Oddly enough, would it shock you that illegals flooded across the border? So what is her response? Oh, that's right. She buses them to Denver. You can't write this stuff. Earlier this year, this far-left New Mexico governess, Michelle Lujan Grisham, she wanted to make sure that you got the Lujan in there so that you know that she's a woman of the people. She withdrew her 118 National Guard troops from New Mexico's southern border with Mexico itself. And she happened to call President Trump's policies a charade of border fear-mongering. Oddly enough, when those National Guard troops went away from the New Mexico border, would anyone be surprised that New Mexico's being overrun by drug cartels following her brilliant, insightful plan to remove those troops from her state border? A local sheriff, by the way, said he saw $60,000 in deadly drug shipments just in April, up from $3,500 in January. And now this. This is the buttery schadenfreude goodness that BC loves to tell you about. The flood of illegals now is too much for New Mexico to handle, so that liberal leftist Democrat governor, she's busing the illegals to Denver. This is via the Denver Post. The New Mexico governor's office paid about $4,000 for a bus to transport 55 Central American asylum seekers to Denver early Sunday morning in an arrangement negotiated between nonprofits in both communities, a spokesman confirmed on Tuesday. So somebody had to work really hard for the benefit of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham as she's coordinating with Annunciation House, a nonprofit that works with migrants all along the borders. So it's like, it's bad if Trump wants to ship illegals to the states that say that, hey, we are a state with open arms. We're a sanctuary state. We're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary county. Bad for Trump to do that. Good for leftists to go ahead and do that and smack other leftists. Here's another story. I know why it happened. And someday I'm going to have to play it. It's about a 10-minute speech. Remember Lindsey Graham's 10-minute speech in the Senate when he was really pissed off at the way that the Democrats were ramrodding and railroading Bart Kavanaugh? I think we saw in that speech the transition, the terraforming of Lindsey Graham 1.0 into Lindsey Graham 2.0. Because here's now a new bill from Lindsey Graham 2.0. This is from Fox News. Graham unveils bill to end asylum claims at U.S. border and return minors to home countries. Anyone besides me think this sounds like a pretty damn good idea. Listen, the devil's in the details, and I kind of really like the details. Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina on Wednesday, yesterday, unveiled a bill that would end asylum claims from Central America at the border and return unaccompanied minors to their home countries, a targeted effort to tackle the escalating migration crisis. This is a nightmare for smugglers, Graham said. This is a godsend to stop the humanitarian disaster. Listen, when you've got Tom Friedman, like I told you this past Tuesday, when you've got Tom Friedman going to the border, massive leftist at the New York Times, and saying, oh my God, this is a crisis, because I'm seeing it with my own little pearly whites, then it's a crisis. And Lindsey Graham says, yeah, this is a godsend to stop the humanitarian disaster. Listen to this. Graham's bill is designed specifically to deal with loopholes, he says, are encouraging migrants from Central California, boy, that's Freudian, Central America, to make the treacherous journey north and bring children with them. He pointed in particular to the 20-day limit for authorities to hold unaccompanied minors and families before having to release them into the U.S. homeland, who knows where. He says the word is out on the street in Central America. If you bring a minor child with you, your chance of being deported goes to almost zero. True. Absolutely true. Your hearing date is literally years away. And we release you inside the country, and that's the goal of coming here in the first place. The bill would end asylum claims at the U.S. border for migrants from the Northern Triangle of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Instead, why didn't anybody else think of this? Well, you know why. Instead, those applications would be filed at refugee processing centers set up in the Northern Triangle and Mexico. The legislation, basically what it means is if you want to apply for asylum, you do it in your own damn country, and you don't come to the border and do it here. We won't even recognize you. Start and get in line in your own damn country. I like that a lot. Instead, those applications would be filed at refugee processing centers set up in the Northern Triangle in Mexico. The legislation would also allow unaccompanied minors to be returned to their country of original origin, which Graham said would be treating them the same as minors from Canada and Mexico. His bill would extend the time families can be held together from 20 days to 100 days. Not a big fan of that because, quite frankly, 100 days is not going to be enough. To help allow claims to be filed without families being released into the U.S., it would also add an additional 500 immigration judges to deal with the backlog of asylum claims. That's a good start. But wait, there's more. There was another gentleman, OMB, who weighed in with his own recommendations. This is from the Washington Times. OMB, come on, if you listen to the show, OMB, Orange Man Bad. Trump announces plan to overhaul legal immigration with emphasis on merit and skill. Emphasis on merit and skill. That's a concept whose time has come. And that's the way that immigration into, let's see, the leftist nation directly above us was and still is Canada. That's right. It starts with a C. For a time in the 90s, Canada was being flooded with Chinese coming in. But Canada would say, you have to bring a skill. Oh, and you also have to be able to be self-sufficient. Bring along the equivalent of 10,000 Canadian dollars as well. Now that's a plan. President Trump sought to retake the reins of the immigration debate Thursday, today, by announcing a bold plan to refashion illegal immigration from its heavy reliance on family ties to a points-based system that would boost those with preferred skills. Why should we be the dumping ground of people who have no skills, may have a challenge speaking Spanish or other languages from their origin countries, and the less skilled jobs are going away anyway, and that's endangering real honest-to-God American citizens, much less illegals? Why can't we have merit-based immigration? A hell of an idea. Let's make this country prosper. That's our job. Our job is not to take care and promote Azerbaijan or Uzbekistan or any other stan, etc., or any other country. That's why I like America first. Mr. Trump said the overall level of legal immigration, now he's talking about legal immigration, a very important and salient point, would remain the same at about 1.1 million people per year, but that the U.S. should do more to pick newcomers who would boost the economy rather than rely on migrants to pick themselves based on which relatives are already in the country. This is not familial linked immigration. This is skills and merit-based immigration, it's a concept whose time has come. It is beyond being here. Gone was the stiff rhetoric of the 2016 campaign, when Trump warned of an influx of foreign workers and proposed a pause on job-based immigration. Instead, Mr. Trump talked of open doors and a nation of immigrants, which he said matters how they get into the U.S. Bingo. It matters how they get into the U.S. I have 3 more minutes. I have another 2 hours of show. Here's another story which came out. This may end up being my last story of the night. This is from Axios. And again, why in the past 8 years haven't we had concepts and ideas like these introduced for the benefit of the United States? The answer? The benefit of the United States was considered onerous and awful and terrible. We can't have the United States benefiting from other people. No. We have to prostrate ourselves for others. Bull. GOP senators' new bill would crack down on U.S. tech going to China. Thank you. Finally, someone is having a smart attack. Just for a moment, a bill announced Tuesday, day before yesterday, by Senator Josh Hawley, Hawley, Republican from Missouri, would make it harder for American companies to export major emerging technologies to China. Why it matters. Technology, from AI to 5G wireless, has become a major bargaining chip in the broader tensions between the U.S. and China, as everybody knows. Details. The bill would require the president to restrict imports to China of any technology covered by the law, including, listen to this is grand, 1, technology or intellectual property that would make a significant contribution to the military potential of China. Common sense. Number 2, IP or technology that is required to guard the U.S. economy from, quote, the excessive drain of scarce materials and to reduce the serious inflationary impact of demand from the People's Republic of China. Common sense. Number 3, tech that the Secretary of State says and delineates as being used by the Chinese government to violate human rights. Common sense. Number 4, technology whose development is supported by the Chinese government or that falls under a broad list of covered industries influencing artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, and robotics. All of it. Common sense.
Monsieur has been locked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show right here, live and direct, in the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios on the network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Thanks to Big Sarge Media for simulcasting my show. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. My gorgeous tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. Thanks to Michael Jones for being here in the first hour. Thank you for being in chat. Thanks for listening in podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you and the time that you take out of your busy night or day, if you listen in podcast, to do so. Folks, have a great weekend. God bless. Take care. Be safe. Come back Tuesday. Ron Edwards.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.